Coming up right now, Johnny. Coming right up on the Johnny Rocket Launchpad, we have Professor Tom W. Bell of Chapman University. Professor Bell is the author of Intellectual Privilege, Copyright, Common Law, and the Common Good. A must listen and always launching ideas in your direction. So stay tuned.
Information is free.
The law.
There is openness.
The Johnny Rocket Launchpad. And now, here's Johnny.
Hey, it's Johnny Rocket here at the Johnny Rocket Launchpad, launching ideas in your direction, the Northwest's only rock and roll libertarian radio show. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Kurt Nelson.
Bam!
My voice of reason, the beautiful, sexy, talented, bitchin' motherfucking babe, my girl, Heather Nixon.
How are you doing?
Good, you're excited.
Yes, I'm always excited.
Yes,
Listen.
she's always excited.
She's always excited.
She's always excited. Anyways, I got this perfect last time. Hopefully I can do it again.
2 breaths, man.
2 breaths is the standard.
So first one's a big one. Go.
We are on, by the way, all times are Pacific, because I don't want to mess that up. I just want to make sure I'm not saying Pacific Standard Time. Pacific
Okay,
Standard
but
Time.
like last time you had room to breathe at the end, so.
All right, here we go. We are on NWCZ Radio every Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., Saturdays, 8 to 10 p.m., LibertyTalk.fm, Saturdays, Sundays, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., Revere Radio Network, Saturdays, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., Radio KSCR, Tuesdays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., Liberty Movement Radio, Friday, Mondays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., InfoSub Friday, Saturday, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., CMG Global Radio, Thursday, 5 a.m. to 7 a.m., Liberty Radio Network, Random Times, jrlp.podbean.com, Facebook.com/JR Launch, JohnnyRocketLaunchpad.com, and this is Johnny Rocket reporting to you live from the Launchpad. Wow.
You got that. You're getting good at that.
Yeah, it's called take a breath before you do it, I think. That's the catch on there. But anyways, we had a really cool week so far. We're the weather out here is beautiful out here in Washington State.
It is.
Pretty awesome. Heather, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Did you have a good day at work?
No.
What happened?
Oh, I'm not allowed to talk about it. You know, those damn
Oh,
HIPAA
right.
laws. Confidentiality and all that.
So, but you're good because you're not working anymore.
Yeah, but I did not get yelled at in Kurdish today.
In Curtis, oh, good.
Yeah, she gets yelled at in like different languages all the time.
It's pretty
Well,
awesome.
that's interesting. I mean, it's kind of sucks, but it's interesting, though.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun.
I could do without, really.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
And Kurt, you've been working all day?
Yeah. Same
a
old
dog?
grind. Yeah.
Same old grind at the SOS, Speed
Yes,
of
sir.
Sound.
Yes, sir.
And you can also, hey, why don't you talk about Speed of Sound real quick?
Speed of Sound is a studio in West Seattle / White Center, Seattle. And we are not open yet, but we are building a fantastic studio, an audio complex, and video production.
And is there a website where people can maybe book some certain events with you?
Speedofsoundstudios.com. Right now, it's sort of a placeholder site, but you can go there and
Look at this page is unavailable right now.
Right. No, I believe actually when you log into it right now, it says it works. That's it.
Under construction.
It doesn't even say that.
All right. Anyways, we got our very special guest. And you know, the reason I really wanted this professor on, actually, I'm going to introduce him, and then I'm going to tell you about how awesome this guy is. Give it up for Professor Tom W. Bell! How you doing, Professor?
Oh, very well, thank you. That's a warm welcome. Thanks.
Thank you very much for coming on here. Professor Tom W. Bell, he's a professor of law at Chapman University School of Law. You've written a variety of papers on intellectual property, the internet law. You graduated your PhD from University of Chicago in '93. You served as a director of telecommunications and tech studies at the Cato Institute in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
Am I doing anything wrong so far? Is that correct?
Well, I gotta demote myself from a PhD to a JD. I don't really think you have to call me doctor. So just a JD from the University of Chicago.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Very cool. You appeared and been quoted on Wall Street Journal, CNN, LA Times. You teach intellectual property, internet law, copyright law, entertainment law, which I think is cool. We want to actually get into that. International entertainment law, tort law, which I have no idea what that is, contract law, and your website is www.tomwbell.com, and you have a book called, why don't you talk about your book? I'm looking for it. I'm like, I know what it is.
It's called Intellectual Privilege.
That's right. Thank you.
And that's kind of a play on words. starting from intellectual property, but I offer a different take on intellectual property. It's all about copyright, and that came out last spring. The Mercatus Center in Washington, D.C. published that.
Really cool. And I really enjoyed, obviously I found you at learnliberty.org. I tell everyone how awesome that website is.
Always going on and on about it.
Yeah, it's great because it's a good introduction to liberty, and you get T-shirts.
And
if you come,
I'm wearing my free T-shirt.
Yeah, she's wearing one right now.
Oh, check you out.
Yeah,
Check you out. Nice.
and then you did a really wonderful course on intellectual property and how that works, and what the difference is between a copyright and a patent, and how it starts from an idea. But you got some new stuff coming up. Can you kind of go into that?
Yes, I'm working with the Learn Liberty people right now to bring out not just one video, but a series of videos on free speech. And
Very cool.
I'm kind of, it's kind of a new thing that I don't know they've done before. I certainly haven't done it, where I'm a little bit more like the host, kind of like what you guys do. I do the first video introducing the other videos, and then we bring in experts in each particular field to basically do the actual video.
Really cool. Really cool. Professor, we are musicians, here at the table. We're creative people. Kurt's a sound engineer professionally. I'm in a band, and we produce some music and records and stuff like that. And we know a lot of people who listen to the show who are into the music business and are worried about protecting their art forms, more or less. Mm-hmm. And, so I think, what are the different types of intellectual property, or IP, as the slang is on the streets? Why should we be concerned about this?
Well, there are many different types of intellectual property. They don't all concern musicians, but for them, of course, copyright's the main thing. The other main types of IP are patents, trademarks, trade secrets, and right of publicity. Those are probably the big ones.
Right on. And those are important for everyone to know. And so I guess the big thing is, can you talk to us about the intellectual property chart? I know it's kind of hard to explain, but
yeah.
I don't know, maybe you can kind of give us a quick little visualization of how that works.
Sure. I call it the map of IP, and I created that because, people get confused about IP. It's terribly complicated. And so it's all on one page. Anybody can find it, I'm sure, online. Just look map of intellectual property, all on one page, and it shows the relationships between these different types of intellectual property and how they develop, and just kind of gets it all on one page, the distinctions between them, as if it were sort of a country rather than just a bunch of words. It's laid out graphically.
Interesting.
Right. Yeah, it's really cool. I thought the map was, everything starts in the middle as an idea, and then you can go up or down and to the left and to the right. I thought it was pretty cool. Let's start with the basics. What is common law?
Common law?
I have no idea.
Yeah, sure. Basically, it's in distinction to statutory law. And let me start with that, because that's actually easier. Statutory law, or legislation, that's the kind of stuff we usually think of as the law. It's the stuff that comes out of Washington or Sacramento or whatever local government agency writes the rules.
Mm-hmm.
The common law is rather different. It comes from the decisions of courts, and it's kind of a bottom-up process, whereas statutory law or legislation is top down. It's the people with the guns and the badges and the gavel saying, you got to do this or else. Whereas with courts, it's different. You have one court here makes a decision about what constitutes the tort of intentional infliction of emotional distress, and this court over there in another jurisdiction decides a little differently. And then over time, we see a convergence towards a norm amongst all the courts, and that's that kind of common approach to things we call the common law.
So it's a bottom up kind of system. It
starts more organic.
Interesting.
Okay, what is tort rules? This sounds like a British
I've never
thing.
heard of that either.
It sounds like a British.
Sounds British.
I heard you say that earlier, and I thought, man, this he's in a dangerous position. He doesn't know what tort law is, and
No, I don't.
they can get you in
That's a
trouble.
dessert, right?
That's like I really don't know what tort laws are.
You might call it someone's just desserts. I don't know. Ba-bum. Basically, tort, it is an interesting that you'd seize on that as kind of mysterious, because it turns out it is a really radically undefined word. It basically means wrong. It means wrong. And it's kind of this catch-all. All the stuff that doesn't fall in the other categories ends up in tort law. But really, mostly, to give you a feel, it's things like assault and battery, defamation, negligence. If, you don't park your car on a steep hill and it smashes into somebody's front window, you were negligent in not setting the parking brake. That's a tort. Nuisance law, if you, I can't imagine you guys would do this, but if you're, say, a musician, you make a ton of noise late at night, and your neighbors are disturbed, they might bring a nuisance claim against you. So it's kind of a catch-all for all these things that the common law tells you shouldn't do.
Right
Wow,
on.
it sounds like all the bad stuff.
It's like the catch-all.
Right.
So we didn't really think of this, so we're going to throw this in tort rules, right? Is that basically?
That guy's a real jerk, man. Just put it into tort law. We'll get him on a tort law.
Being a jerk, fortunately, won't do it yet, but...
It's probably coming on, though, yeah.
Well, intentional infliction of emotional distress. I mean, that's like super jerkdom.
Okay.
And then also the one you guys should care about really is, defamation.
Yeah,
Right. No, totally.
Injurious falsehoods about people that are made in public. That can get you into trouble.
Right. Well, we've said some bad things sometimes, but that's cool.
No, allegedly.
Allegedly, we said some.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly we did.
Never make that admission, especially if you're recording.
Right. We can edit.
Okay.
Yeah.
The power of editing.
That's why Heather is our voice of reason.
She
and
stops
so
us.
Her job is to keep us legal, hopefully.
Good luck with that, Heather.
Well, thank you. It's a full-time job.
All right. So here's the big question: what is copyright?
Copyright. Well, I call it an intellectual privilege versus a type of intellectual property. I don't know if I'm going to push that hard with you guys because we'll do it very basically. And it is very basically a statutory protection for authors who create original expressive works.
Mm-hmm.
So if you write a song, first time anyone's ever heard the song, and you write it down, boom, automatically in U.S. law, you get a copyright. Or if you paint a picture, or you write a poem, or write computer software, record a radio show. I guess you could say, we're creating copyrighted work right here and now if you're recording this.
Sure. Yeah. Right on. Very cool. So anyways, I'm going to play a video that you had done. I don't think it was for learnliberty.org, but it was a video. It's called In Today's Copyright System. Okay, so we're going to play the audio for that little video right now. Here we go.
It has been said that crime is synonymous with the human condition. Tonight, we bear witness to that wisdom. Submitted for your approval, a tale of unspeakable horror. Meet Jane, a high-performing young professional on an upward trajectory to mid-level management. Jane walks with the grace of an angel and has a smile that could melt a candle. But don't be fooled. For beneath Jane's gentle exterior stirs an unbridled propensity for lawlessness so wicked that it threatens to shred the very fabric of our American social order. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the face of a serial copyright violator. Watch Jane as she brazenly violates copyright law by forwarding a chain email joke of the day to a distribution list of her college sorority sisters. Spammage! And here we are at the weekly all-staff, dull as a glass of warm lemonade. It may seem harmless, but that's no ordinary sketch. That, my friends, is an unauthorized derivative of a copyrighted original, the handiwork of a devious mastermind. Cowabunga! And wait, what's this? A surprise party. Not only does Jane partake in the unauthorized public performance of a copyrighted song, she immediately records and distributes it to her vast syndicate of copyright violators. Facebookage. Just when we thought her assault on copyright had ended, Jane launches her final insult to our beloved legal system. Making copies. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we've witnessed the depraved acts of a hardened lawbreaker. But Jane is not alone. Countless Americans across the entire country commit these and other acts of infringement every day. It raises a troubling question. If the copyright laws were applied strictly and uniformly across the whole of society, who among us, among our friends, families, neighbors, co-workers, wouldn't be deemed a copyright infringer? It may sound silly, but it's true. Like Jane, most of us routinely violate the Copyright Act multiple times a day. To make matters worse, big corporations often use absurd applications of copyright to ensnare innovators who are simply trying to create new products. The fact that nobody seriously thinks infringement should be fully enforced demonstrates the need for reform. To learn more about the problems with the current copyright system, as well as some common sense solutions, check out the latest book from the Mercatus Center at George Mason University, Intellectual Privilege by Tom W. Bell.
All right. Blah, blah,
Is
blah,
that,
blah.
is that the one that we watched
Right,
earlier?
yeah.
Oh, that was really funny. The black and white one where you're kind of a detective.
Or it's like the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I love that one.
That was in conjunction with the release of the book. Yeah, we wanted to do something that'd be kind of funny and also accurate. We actually went over that a lot to make sure the law in it is accurate, and it is. But unfortunately, the law isn't usually that amusing.
No, it's
Right.
like watching paint dry.
Yeah.
It really is sometimes boring, but I think it's interesting. I think it's like people don't know this stuff. I really didn't honestly know what tort rules were.
You know what? I have a question for you. I remember when I was much younger and the music industry was much different. It used to be like people would say, well, you don't have to worry about going through the whole copyright thing. If you take you take a copy of your work and mail it to yourself, that proves that you that you recorded that or wrote that, and that will hold up in court. I can tell already by your reaction.
No, don't do that. Don't count on that. That won't do it. No.
Did that used to be the case? I mean, I was told that by several people.
So.
But
I mean, I've heard it a lot. I don't know where it came from. Never have seen a court use it. I just think it's one of those kind of folk tales. I guess.
So, okay, all right. So to our listeners, do actually go out and copyright your stuff, actually legit, and because otherwise you can lose it. Yeah.
Yeah, although you got to be careful about that. You say, is that Curtis or is
this
that John?
This is Kurt.
Kurt. Sorry, Kurt.
No, that's right.
So I'd say Kurt. See, the thing is, under U.S. law, as soon as you fix the work in a tangible medium of expression, that's what they call it. You record it, you write it down on a piece of paper. It's not just words in the air. As soon as you do that, your copyright starts. But now here's the really weird thing. This is tricky. You have a right as soon as you fix it, but you don't have a remedy, meaning you can't sue anybody for infringing your work until you register it. And here's the killer. And this is how little players get burned all the time. If you wait too long to register your work after you first make it public, you might not get all the benefits of your copyright. I could tell you a story how this works out because the story happens a lot. It's really tragic.
Yeah, please do.
Oh.
Okay, so here's a classic scenario how people get burned. Suppose you got a young songwriter, say Jewel. She used to live in her van and play coffee houses. Okay. So this is Jewel before she made it big and made a terrible mistake with her copyright. She's playing this new song she wrote. She's playing at a coffee house. And some Hollywood exec is there, and he hears it, and he says, that's a great tune. I'm going to take it back and have Taylor Swift record it. So he plans on infringing. And Jewel has a copyright for sure, because she's written down her song. She's got it on a piece of paper, or maybe she recorded it with her iPhone, but she hasn't registered yet. And let's just say she doesn't hop on it and register it within 3 months of her performance. All right, so month 4, this Hollywood exec releases this new Taylor Swift single. It's Jewel's song, but they don't say that. And it's a big hit, and they rake in tons of money. Okay, so now Jewel says, she hears it on the radio. It's my song. I'm going to sue. She gets an attorney. The attorney goes and sues Taylor Swift and company, and what happens? Here's 2 things that happen. Jewel says, I want to have statutory damages. Statutory damages are awesome. You don't really have to prove how much it hurt you. You just say, I get up to $150,000 per infringed work. I don't even have to have the numbers to back it up. That's kind of like just, you got to do it. No, Taylor Swift says, you, Jewel, don't get statutory damage because you didn't register quickly enough. Dang. Okay.
Crazy.
All right. I want my actual damages. All the harm you did to me by recording this song without my permission. And then Taylor Swift's attorneys say, but Jewel, you're a nobody. You didn't lose any sales because you're not making any sales.
Okay.
All right, we're not done yet. Here's the last thing she's got. Jewel says, all right, fine. I want your profits. You made it. I'm not in the business really yet, but you are, and you made a ton of money off of my song. That's my money. Now, her theory is sound, but here's what happens in practice. Those Hollywood accountants say, oh, we're sorry, Ms. Jewel, but you can see from our books that we made no money on this song. What are you talking about? You're all driving Lamborghinis.
Right.
Well, actually, that is a different deal, and you can't show we made any money, so sorry, big goose egg there, you get nothing. And
No.
It's crazy.
Basically, she gets burned because why? She had this genius work, she put it out in public,
And
she had
she
a
waited too long.
copyright, but she didn't register. You got to register.
Okay, wow.
That's
And
the thing is the registering.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So you're technically protected, but you're not.
Yeah, I guess you could put it that way.
You're really
Because-
kind Right.
She doesn't get much. I mean, if it was the right person, if it were like Taylor Swift who was being infringed, of course, she could show, she would make this mistake, but, she could show, I really lost sales because, normally I make billions of dollars in sales, and I didn't this time because we infringed.
Right on.
It's easier for her, but the little people get ski-rooed.
Right. Sounds like it. Well, what kind of rights do copyright holders have, though, when they do have the copyright?
They can be pretty powerful. Now, we mentioned like statutory damages, actual damages or unjust profits. Also, injunctive relief, meaning, and this is true even of Jewel in our little scenario. She can walk into wherever she's going, Sony Records, and say, stop the presses, stop sending out those files. Tell Taylor she can't perform my song. I have a court order. You guys can't do anything else with my song. And, that's a pretty powerful tool. Unfortunately, again, what happens to little guys, they often don't discover the infringement until after the money has been made. They say, I'm going to shut you down. And they go, well, it's fine with us. We already made our own money. It was a pop hit. It lasted for, 4 weeks, and now the sales have evaporated. So, yeah, we'll stop. Thanks. We'll just keep the money.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's kind of rough.
So what are some of the limitations on copyright, though? So we talked about.
What does it do for you? Yeah.
Yeah, like the limitations, though.
Sure. So how do you get in trouble so that these remedies get applied? Well, basically what copyright covers is expressive works, and it says if you don't have the copyright, you have to go to the copyright holder to reproduce the work, to publicly distribute it, to publicly perform it, to publicly display it if it's something you can't perform, like say, sculpture. You can't perform a sculpture, but you can display it.
Right.
And this is one that gets a lot of people to create derivative works. So you hear the song and you like it, but you twist it around to your own purposes. You've created both a copy, because you did copy, and a derivative work, because you did a variation of it, a translation, an adaptation.
Interesting.
Well, there was a thing in the music business. I remember hearing, like, if you changed the key, you changed at least 3 things about a song that they really couldn't put their finger on it. I don't know. It was just like, it was a wives' tale kind of thing. Kind of like the mail the copyright to yourself kind of story.
I remember, I've heard several things. Oh, well, you can use 10 bars of somebody's song without, but it's all crap.
I think it is. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust any of that stuff. I tell you, it varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, but there is this case out of the 8th Circuit, Bridgeport, where I believe they sampled 8 notes. So it was someone doing some sampling, and they sampled 8 notes. And the court said, you copied. Wow. I only copied 8 notes. You copied.
Wow.
You're busted.
It was like Vanilla Ice and his Ice Ice Baby.
Oh, yeah.
With Queens under pressure.
Oh, right. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Right.
It was the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know if he ever got sued on that. Do you know? I'm not sure I heard about that.
I think he did. I'm not sure, but I think everyone called him out like, oh, you obviously stole that. I think the problem was everyone assumed that he paid the royalties for that.
But he didn't.
But he didn't. And then finally Queen's like, wait, what's up with that? And they actually called him out on it. So I think a lot of people thought that he paid the royalties to have that. That's why I want to know.
I just did a search for it, and it comes up amongst a group of famous copyright infringement plagiarism cases. So evidently it was a case.
Yeah, I don't know if it actually, he got in trouble or not. I don't know. Interesting stuff.
Well, he must have. He's not making any money because he's robbing houses in Florida. So apparently.
Right. I don't know. What is the difference between property and copyrights? So we can talk about, we can kind of bring in property rights a little bit.
Are we talking like physical property?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll say first of all that, most people describe copyright as a type of property. It's kind of on the periphery of what we normally think of as property, but they do. And I'm okay with some of that. One of the cool things about property, the best things about it is you can say, I own this. You got to get my permission to use it. Right. And it basically creates a market for things. And that's how people like maybe you guys can make money off your music. There's a market. You can actually go to someone and say, here's my song. It's mine, so I can sell it to you.
Right.
And thank you for that big fat check. But, there's some differences between, I think, property and copyright that are really super important. One thing is just tradition and the common law. Traditionally, the common law protected only tangible property, stuff you can touch.
Right.
And the two big categories are real estate and then chattel or movable property, guitars, computers, stuff you can pick up and carry around.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah. And so those things, definitely, everyone agrees that's property. The distinguishing characteristic of property is exclusive rights of enjoyment. So when you own your computer, you can say to other people, hands off.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is property rights start from a common law aspect, physical property rights, your house, your car, your computer,
Yes.
and actual copyrights come from the top down.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Okay, right on.
It's as if lawmakers decided, oh, this is what happened, really. They said, there's some great things about property, and we want to use those great things to encourage people to create new expressive works. Right?
Very
You go to
interesting.
people and you say, will you please, you say we're bored, we're sitting around in the woods in an uncivilized condition.
Hey, how's it going?
We're bored. Can we have some music here? And
Right.
the guy who's talented says, it's a lot of work to create music. I don't feel moved today to do it. Well, how about if we give you some money? And now he starts, banging on a bongo or whatever.
Right.
Because you're giving him money. And that's what copyright does. It basically sets up a system where we can create incentives for people to create new works. And we're happy about that. That's why it's kind of a good idea, at least in theory. But, in practice, copyright, if you ask me, I wrote a whole book about it, has gotten way out of control. I mean, it's just insane how it's gotten so powerful that it's really doing a lot more harm than good these days, I'm afraid.
Right on. How long are copyrights good for? I think that's a very, because I think we've been talking about this, saying
We have.
we've been
We have.
messing up the times though, because I don't know if it's like life and then plus so many X
120 years.
I don't know.
Or what?
Oh, yeah. So these days, for an individually authored work, not one created by a corporation, that's another story. But if one of you guys sat down and wrote a song, or you, Heather, it would be life of the author, which is really death of the author, plus 70 years. So your copyright would last as long as your life. May that be very long. And then again, another 70 years.
Interesting.
And,
Okay.
and Kurt
We-
is always about Stevie Wonder, and that Stevie Wonder should get paid after he dies.
I think
or his
so.
family
I
should.
think so.
We can talk
or his family, or whoever, has the rights to
His estate or whatever.
copyrights,
Yeah, yeah.
His estate, yeah. He might have sold the rights. There's, you guys probably know this better than most people, big publishing music companies, they have huge portfolios. That's how Michael Jackson ended up with the copyrights to the Beatles.
All the
work.
Beatles
Right.
stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you're talking about till the death of the plus 70 years. So if it's
Yeah.
sold to a corporation,
Yeah.
how do those rules translate? Does that rule still apply?
part of a
or does it
contract, maybe?
transfer, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. And it turns out if the work was created by an author in the first instance, by an individual, then that author's life continues to measure out the term. So I guess you could have this scenario where some big record company, buys a copyright from some big star, and then says, okay, will you please stop water skiing and mountain climbing? Could we send you to the doctor? Would you bundle up? It's cold outside because we want you to live a long time.
Right. Wow. Interesting.
So
I don't know if that happens, but in theory.
So
it could.
one more follow-up. So we were
Sure.
discussing, let's say Disney or whatever corporation, they have employees that are creating things for the corporation.
Yeah.
So the corporation owns them from the get-go. How do
Yeah.
the rules apply to them then?
Good question again. And we can't use, in that case, life of the author because corporations are potentially immortal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you guys must have heard this 120 years thing. It's a little complicated, but it is the shorter of first creation plus 120 years or first publication plus 95 years.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, you can work it out how it works. So if Disney created something, a long time ago and just never published it, then after 120 years, it expires. And,
Wow.
if they publish it, it may be the 95-year limit. It depends.
Interesting. Really quick question. Jinx. Really quick question, though. How does ASCAP and BMI and the publishing industries, right? Because when we did a record, most
Yeah.
artists, they go to BMI or ASCAP, and then they submit their stuff and say, hey, I wrote this song called I Love You, Betty, and it went up. You do the author with the percentages, and then you actually copyright that song on top of the publishing. How does that correlate with one another?
So you're asking what BMI, ASCAP,
What-
CSAC, what they do, what
yes.
they have?
What do
Oh,
they
okay.
actually do versus what the copyright does? Because they're supposed to kind of protect you too, right?
Yeah.
Supposedly.
Okay. Yeah. They don't, what they do is they go out and they enforce copyrights in compositions. Every musical work, well, not every, because you might record like a classical work of music in which the copyright has lapsed. But if you do
Right.
a contemporary work of music, there's two copyrights actually. One is the underlying musical work. That's like the sheet music, the melody, the chords, the rhythm, all that as it's written down.
Mm-hmm.
Separate from that is the recording, because
The
why?
performance.
Because it's a performance. Because as you know, one of you was it Kurt that is a sound engineer?
Yes.
Yeah. So as you know, there's actually a lot of artistry and sound engineering, and all you people play music, you play, I guess, instruments, and there's, even if someone puts a sheet music in front of you, there's all kinds of interpretive skill that goes into creating the actual performance.
Sure.
And
Right.
so there's authorship added at that stage as well, and that results in a separate copyright. All right, I just had to set that up because
Interesting.
now I can say, you understand why I say ASCAP, BMI, CSTAC. What they do is they enforce just the composition rights. So they run around to restaurants and bars and public venues. They actually do this. They have investigated.
Right.
Sometimes I've heard actually sometimes they will call up a restaurant and and listen to the background music, and they will find places that are performing the copyright holders' compositions without permission, and they bust them.
Right. Yeah. We know about
They
this.
bust 'em.
Yeah,
You know about it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because they used to do apparently we had Daryl Fortune on here. He's one of our radio stations that we are broadcasted on. And he was saying that they had a hot tub and the beer recreation centers were back in the 90s where everyone got in the hot tubs and got drunk.
Really?
And they listened to music. And
These
then
were commercial establishments?
here,
Yes, yeah, they were
Wow.
places where they had rooms with hot tubs, and you would rent the place out for an hour, and you can hang out in the hot tub. And they had
I used to go to these. They have,
Did you really?
they have these in Alaska, but the problem is they're gross.
Yeah, the whole 1 hour rental thing.
yeah, it's gross.
I wonder what they're doing in there.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's,
so they were playing music at these venues, and ASCAP or BMI got on them?
oh, yeah. And they were just piping them through the system, and I didn't think anything of it.
just
But
playing the radio.
Yeah, but the thing is it's a scam in my opinion because BMI and ASCAP, I don't know any artist who has published with them or registered with them that has actually gotten a paycheck from them.
Oh, actually, I know some people who have. I mean,
you have
have
to be
a-
pretty big, though.
Oh, yeah. My friend, she's and her co-writer, basically, they set out deciding we're going to write enough songs we can retire on them. And they worked out the math, and they get played, like television shows, background songs. And the check, each song is not a lot, but they're getting there. They are. They got over 100 songs. They have
Nice.
Wow.
yeah, it can
Very
happen.
cool.
It's hard work, though. They work really hard.
That's crazy. Hey,
Yeah.
Professor, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to be right back. We're going to listen to Billy's Burns, Whatever Chaps His Ass, and we're going to be rocking and rolling with Professor Tom W. Bell. Woo! Thank you very much. We're not done with you yet, sir. We're going to be right back. Stick around.